right. It's another day. It's another Your Daily Scrum with professional Scrum trainers, Todd Miller and Ryan Ripley. Guess which one is which? Oh, wait, the names are there.
Yeah.
Todd,
I'm also the one
up.
that's not fun. You were just accusing me of not being any fun at all.
Facts. Facts. Todd, we're wrapping up our series today.
We are wrapping up our series.
So applying empiricism to the Scrum artifacts. Today it's applying empiricism to the increment. I think this is a really good idea that Todd came up with, how we apply empiricism to the artifacts. If you like more of Todd's ideas and a few of mine as well, check out our book, Fixing Your Scrum, Practical Solutions to Common Scrum Problems. Join us for a class. It's all in the description. Like and subscribe. Never miss a video. All that fun stuff. All right, Todd, the increment related to empiricism.
Yeah.
How does this work?
Right. To continue what we have been doing, to define it a little bit, right? The increment, this is a concrete stepping stone towards the product goal. There's that, artifact again, another artifact, product goal, right? It's a concrete stepping stone towards the product goal, and it must be usable. It has to provide value and it must be usable, right? The commitment to the increment is a definition of done, which quite simply shows the completedness of the work that we've done. Really insightful comment in the new Scrum guide is the moment a product backlog item meets the definition of done during a sprint, an increment is born. And applying what we've discussed so far, the three pillars of empirical process control that we've just talked about thus far: inspection, adaptation, and transparency. Right? We're going to unpack these again as far as the increment's concerned. So, inspection, Ryan.
Yeah, the lens, again, is definition of done. Like, I love how these commitments create the lens for us to perform inspections against these artifacts. And so when we're inspecting the increment, of course, the big idea there is going to be the sprint review, right? This is the event where we're going to take a look at what was done. Did it help us make progress towards our product goals and all? But the big thing about the increment during sprint review is completedness, right? Is it releasable? Is it usable? Right. And that's really the questions we ask. The definition of done helps to inform that. So in sprint review, we're definitely taking a look at that. We're also inspecting quality, right? Does it meet our level of quality as defined in the definition of done? But this is also ongoing throughout the sprint. You don't have to wait until the end of a sprint to have an increment. You could have an increment on day 2. The moment a product backlog item meets the definition of done, an increment is born. Wonderful language from the new Scrum Guide, from Scrum Guide 2020. And so that means that we could have an increment each and every day, depending on how the work is sliced and diced. Increments compound, and so they're continually integrated. So we're inspecting that integration as well. And again, really, we're also looking at that progress towards a sprint goal. So inspection is happening all throughout the sprint potentially, but definitely in that sprint review. And it's really all about quality, completedness, and whether or not it's useful, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. My brain, when it came to how adaptation works here, got a little funky, right? Just to start to think about it. Ultimately, I think that this applies as increments compound, right? So as increments go on top of other increments, it enables the ability to adapt based off of the aggregated increments, if that makes sense. So multiple PBIs that meet the definition of done. The first one makes an increment, and then they just compound increments grow together, right? And that gives us the opportunity to adapt. I also think that that enables us to build new and better increments in the future. My brain always goes to software. So as we build increments and we understand more about what the expectations of a product are, our approach may change. Our approach from an architectural or technology perspective may change. And I think that in increments and inspecting them allow for the adaptation of future increments in that regard. And, as I think this statement, as the sprint goes, the increments go, I think that really relates to the moment a PBI meets the definition of done, an increment is born. There can be multiple increments throughout the duration of the sprint, and hopefully there are. I think that as we segue into transparency, your ability to inspect and adapt all really hinges on how transparent your increments are, Ryan.
Totally agree. That's, when we come to transparency, right? The definition of done really brings transparency to the increment. I think usage is just as important. How is the increment actually being used out in the wild? That's really the closing of the feedback loop, right? So we need that feedback loop closed in order to bring whole team understanding to what the increment actually, like the value of the increment, the usefulness of the increment, the impact of the increment. All of these things are made transparent through release, right? And so the increment becomes transparent in a number of different ways. The definition of done is one way. During sprint review, when we hear about its usage, its impact on the market, this is why the sprint review has to be a collaborative working session, not just a demo. Because if we don't know the impact, the value, the usage, the effectiveness of this increment being delivered, we don't know anything about it. It's not well understood. We're still guessing. It's still a hypothesis. It's still an experiment. So this transparency aspect is super important. Yeah. A well-structured sprint review can help. There might be a video or two in our YouTube channel that can help. So be sure to take a look. But yeah, Todd, I think that is inspection, adaptation, and transparency related to the increment.
I think so too. Just make sure you're always adhering to the definition of done, because of lack of transparency in the increment will do nothing but hurt you in the end.
Absolutely. All right. We hope you enjoyed that series. Certainly, we had a lot of fun creating it. Let us know in the comments. Add your questions. What kind of other series would you like to see? Are there some things that we can talk about in the future that would be useful to you? Let us know. And who knows, your ideas will probably turn into future videos. Like and subscribe so you don't miss when that happens. Check out the socials. We'd like to promote new videos there as well. Speaking of new videos, some are going to pop up right about now. Check them out. The algorithm thinks you'll like them. We do too. For Todd Miller, I'm Ryan Ripley. Go forward, do some good things, apply empiricism to your artifacts. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.